She smiled, "You can't hurt me," but her face changed when she saw the photos I printed. The smile didn't vanish all at once. It twitched first, like a glitch in bad Wi-Fi, then froze halfway, her lips still curled but her eyes suddenly not matching. Her gaze dropped from my face to the stack of glossy A4 pages on the table between us. The top one was slightly off-center, showing her profile in full color. Hair pinned up in that messy twist she only did on busy days. One hand on a man's chest in the lobby of the Harborview Hotel, his mouth way too close to her ear for purely professional. Time and date stamped in the corner, 11:42 p.m., the night she told me she was stuck at the office finishing end-of-quarter reports. "What is this?" she asked, but her voice came out thinner than usual. Her fingers hovered over the photo like it might burn her. She made a minimal effort to laugh, that airy, dismissive tone she used on junior staff and pushy salespeople. "Alex, seriously, what is this? Some kind of joke?" Her glass of Pinot left a ring on the wood as she set it down too hard. I could hear the soft whir of the dishwasher in the background, Pepper's nails tapping on the tiles as our dog paced in the doorway, picking up on the tension. My heart was pounding so loudly I could feel it in my teeth, but my hands were steady as I nudged the stack closer to her. "It's the part where you said you were at the office," I said, "and the part where my phone must be glitching, because your location was in Miller's Point. It's the part where you told me I was paranoid. I thought it might help to see it printed out." Her hand trembled as she flipped to the next page. Different angle, same hotel lobby, her laughing at something, head thrown back, the mystery guy's hand on the small of her back. Another page, same man, different night, the two of them sitting in a booth at a dim bar I recognized instantly because we'd had our 3rd anniversary there. His hand cupping her cheek, her leaning in. The timestamp matched the emergency client dinner she'd apologized for missing my parents' visit over. "You're being ridiculous," she said, but the words didn't have any weight anymore. She reached for her wine with the wrong hand and almost knocked it over. "You can't just, hire some creep to follow me around and then think this makes you some kind of detective. You can't hurt me with this, Alex." She forced the smile again, brittle and sharp. "You know that, right? You can't hurt me." It was a Wednesday night, about 6 months after I first started wondering if I was losing my mind or if my wife was very carefully helping that along. We'd been together for 9 years, married for 4, and if you'd asked anyone who knew us, they would have said we were solid. Boring solid maybe, but solid. We had a 2-bedroom apartment in the inner west, a nervous rescue dog named Pepper who flinched at loud noises, a collection of IKEA furniture we kept meaning to upgrade, and a shared Google Calendar color-coded down to who was responsible for cleaning the bathroom. I'm 34, a high school English teacher. My wife, ex-wife I guess, but I'm still getting used to saying that, is Kelly, 35, corporate lawyer. She's the type who looks like she was born in a blazer, polished, put together, good at making people feel like things are under control. I'm more the cardigan and coffee stains type. At work I spend my days cajoling teenagers into caring about metaphor. She spends hers in boardrooms making very rich people feel less scared of other very rich people. We met at a trivia night my friend roped me into. My team was getting obliterated in the sports and pop culture rounds when the host announced a bonus question, and Kelly shouted the answer from the back table before he'd even finished the sentence. He disqualified her team for cheating. She argued her way into the points anyway. I watched her dismantle his logic with this combination of indignation and charm and thought, oh, I'm doomed. Back then, that ability of hers, to bend a narrative until it sat exactly where she wanted it, was something I admired. She could talk us into better seats at a concert, negotiate our internet bill down, convince my very stubborn mother to let us host Christmas instead of doing the 2-hour drive to the suburbs. It took me a while to realize that the same skill, turned inward, could rewrite entire chunks of our relationship in her favor. The cracks didn't start with late-night hotel lobbies. They started with a toothbrush. Kelly's firm had brought in a new senior partner, someone she'd mentioned in passing a few times. Sharp as hell, came from a big firm in Melbourne, knows his stuff. His name was Marco. I didn't think anything of it. My job has new faces every year and it sounded like hers did too. He became a fixture in her stories. Marco said this in a meeting. Marco crucified this incompetent opposing counsel. Marco wears terrible ties but somehow still pulls them off. He's like a walking TED Talk, she said once, laughing as she kicked off her heels. You'd actually like him. I nodded, half listening, scrolling through my marking spreadsheet. It wasn't weird, I told myself, for her to talk about a new boss. I had teachers I bonded with too, people I ranted about at home. The fact that his name came up a lot was whatever. Then one Sunday morning, I opened the bathroom cabinet looking for floss and saw a second toothbrush in the cup. Not a big thing, right? We had extras. But it was new, still with that plasticky sheen, and we'd just replaced ours a month ago. It wasn't mine. Hey, I called, holding it up as I walked back to the bedroom where she was scrolling on her phone, hair in a messy knot. You get a new toothbrush already. She looked up, blinked, then smiled. Yeah, I grabbed one at the chemist. 2 for 1. I liked the color better. She was using the old one. The new one was dry. Why is it in the cup then? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. She shrugged, rolling onto her back. I dunno, Alex, because the sink is not a storage facility. It's a toothbrush. Do you need me to notarize its presence? I laughed it off. I mean, what else do you do? Stage a cross-examination over dental hygiene. The idea that she'd be stupid enough to leave some other guy's toothbrush in our bathroom was ridiculous, so I told myself it was just a spare, and if there was a tiny knot of unease in my stomach, I ignored it. Ignoring things, it turns out, is an excellent short-term coping strategy and a terrible long-term plan. The first real red flag was her phone. We'd always been pretty relaxed about our phones, not in the we read each other's messages way, but in the grab mine if you need to Google something way. Her phone would be lying face up on the coffee table, buzzing with group chats. Mine would be buried in couch cushions, vibrating with year 11s asking, "Is the essay due at 11:59 or 3 p.m.? Neither of us cared. There was an unspoken trust that if one of us picked up the other's phone, it was to hand it to them or find out what time the movie started, not to go digging. Then, around the same time Marco's name started appearing in stories more often, Kelly's phone started living face down. It was subtle at first. We'd be watching TV, it'd light up, she'd flip it over without looking and say, work, they can wait. Or we'd be eating, it'd buzz, she'd check it quick, thumbs flying, then put it back on the table screen down. You know phones still vibrate even when they're face done right. I joked one night, trying to keep it casual. She smirked. Yeah, but this way I don't have to see how much chaos is waiting for me tomorrow. It's compartmentalizing, babe. You should try it instead of checking your email at 10 p.m. Fair enough, I thought. She's setting boundaries. Isn't that what every therapist on Instagram tells you to do? But then the notifications themselves shifted. Instead of Slack or Outlook, I'd catch glimpses of Signal or just message from unknown, new apps I hadn't seen before. The first time I brought it up, we were in bed. What's with Signal? I asked, gesturing to her home screen as she scrolled. She didn't even look up. Firm, trying out encrypted channels for some sensitive stuff, she said. Clients love the cloak and dagger feel. I'm not an idiot. I know law firms use encrypted messaging sometimes. It made sense. It all made sense individually. It was only when I stepped back later, like one of those stupid stereograms where you finally see the hidden dolphin, that the pattern punched me in the face. For a while, I genuinely wondered if I was just broken. If something in me was cracked from the stress of kids who don't care about commas and the steady drip of, we might need to do IVF soon. I started second-guessing every uneasy feeling. Like the night she came home at 1 a.m. from a closing dinner. She texted at 6. Kelly, big deal might finally close, don't wait up, they're dragging us out for celebration. Love you, Roman 20. I sent back a thumbs up, told her to have fun. I graded essays, walked Pepper, fell asleep on the couch. At 12:47 a.m., I woke to the sound of keys in the door. Kelly stumbled in, heels in one hand, blazer folded over her arm. Hey, I mumbled, rubbing my eyes, good night. She dropped her bag with a thud, kicked off the other shoe. We crushed them, she said, grinning. Her lipstick was smudged just past her lip line, like she'd wiped it off in a hurry. They caved on clause 12 like little wimps. She smelled like expensive wine and a cologne that wasn't hers. I stood up, stretching. You could have texted, I said. I was starting to wonder if I should call the police. Oh my God, dramatic much, she laughed, tossing her blazer over a chair. I told you it might be late. Yeah, but late and almost 1 a.m. are different animals. She rolled her eyes, moved past me toward the bedroom. You worry too much, Alex. This is just how deals go sometimes. It's not like I'm out doing lines off a toilet seat. I didn't think you were, I said. I just worry. She paused in the hallway, turned back, and for a second the annoyance softened. I know, she said, stepping back to kiss my cheek. It's one of the things I love about you, okay? You care, I'm just really tired. Can we not do the interrogation thing right now? And again, I let it go, because what was I going to say? Hey, the cheaper cologne you smell like isn't the type your firm usually buys for clients. I told myself I was being petty, insecure. Kelly was very good at helping me think that way. Do you trust me? She asked wide-eyed. Of course, I'd say. Then act like it, she'd reply. It's embarrassing, honestly, how long it took me to stop giving her free benefit of the doubt. The turning point, stupidly, was an IT guy. Our school got hit with some minor malware nonsense. Emails went out telling us to change passwords, blah blah. I'd never been great with that stuff, so our IT manager dropped by my classroom to help. "You should really set up two-factor authentication and account alerts," he said, clicking around. "You'd be amazed how many people ignore weird logins from China at 3 a.m. "How does that work?" I asked, leaning over. He showed me the settings. I shrugged, told him to go for it, make me a fortress. He laughed, clicked a few more times, then moved on to the next room. Later that week, half out of curiosity, I turned on location sharing in Google Maps between my phone and Kelly's. It wasn't a sneaky thing. In fact, we'd done it before on holidays, so we could find each other if we split up in a foreign city. I texted her. Me turned on location sharing again. Helpful for when I'm grabbing you from work, so I don't keep doing laps of the block like an Uber driver. Kelly, lol, okay, stalker. Me, only for your own good. Kelly, sure. We joked about it, she didn't object. If anything, she seemed amused. It made me feel slightly less insane. See, I wasn't hiding anything, neither was she. Except she was. One Friday, 3 weeks later, she texted me at 4. "Kelly, running late, big last-minute meeting, don't wait dinner." I was tired. It had been a long day of moderating a Year 10 debate about whether we should ban homework. They were very passionate, very wrong, and very loud. I thought, fine, I'll order Thai and watch the game. Then her little dot on Google Maps moved. At first it stayed at her office. Then around 6:15 it started sliding across the map. I watched it out of idle curiosity, like you do when you track someone coming home. Except instead of heading west toward our place, it went north. Then east. Then stopped at a blue pin, labeled Harborview Hotel. I stared at it, my rice noodles went cold. I told myself there were a dozen explanations. Maybe the big meeting was with out-of-town clients. Maybe they'd booked a conference room. Maybe she was just popping in to use the bathroom, and the app would update any minute now to show her heading back to the office. It didn't. At 8:30 she texted. "Kelly, still in meeting hell. Sorry, this client does not shut up." I can't explain the feeling of reading that message while looking at the little location dot that had not moved 1 centimeter in 2 hours. It was like my stomach dropped, and my brain went eerily quiet at the same time. I typed, deleted, typed again. Me, long meeting. Kelly, tell me about it. Me at the hotel. 3 dots, then. Kelly, huh. Me, map says you're at Harborview. There was a very long pause. Kelly, OFFS, this app. Kelly, I'm in a boardroom next door to that. The GPS is always off around here. City buildings mess with it. Kelly, you really need to chill more, babe. I promise I'm not having a torrid affair in a hotel room while eating stale conference pastries. I stared at those words for a long time. I promise I'm not having a torrid affair in a hotel room. It's funny now, in a bleak way, how close she accidentally got to the truth. I wanted so badly to believe her. Every part of me that loved her, that knew her laugh and her coffee order, and the way she'd get teary at dog adoption videos, wanted to press that doubt down and smooth it over. Instead, I opened a browser tab and typed Harborview Hotel function rooms. There were indeed conference spaces. There were also a lot of rooms booked by the hour. The website had a gallery. The lobby looked exactly like the one in my photos now sitting between us on the table. That night, she got home at 11:15. Sorry, she said, kicking off her shoes. If I hear the phrase, risk mitigation one more time, I'm going to throw myself off the harbor bridge. Long meeting, I asked. She blinked, yeah, like I said. I heard myself say, huh, in this flat little voice that didn't sound like mine. She stopped, one heel still half on. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I said quickly, just long night. She studied me for a second, eyes narrowing. You've been weird lately, she said. You've been busy lately, I replied. She rolled her eyes. God forbid my job be demanding. You know what, Alex, not everything is about you. I didn't say. You implied. She grabbed her bag, slung it over her shoulder again. I'm taking a bath. Maybe by the time I'm out you'll have chilled the hell out. She shut the bathroom door a little too hard. I stood in the kitchen, hands still on the back of a chair, and stared at the closed door like it might open onto a different life. That was the first night I Googled how to tell if your spouse is cheating like a cliché. Every article told me to look for changes in routine, secrecy with their phone, sudden defensiveness, unexplained time away. I ticked boxes in my head and hated myself for it. I didn't sleep much. Over the next month, a weird duality settled in. On the surface, life went on. We did the groceries, we watched shows, we argued about whether Pepper needed a new bed. Underneath, I started noticing every inconsistency like a highlighter pen had been dragged through my days. She'd say she was popping into the office for an hour and come back 3 hours later with her makeup slightly smudged and a story about traffic. She started a new workout schedule, early morning runs 3 times a week, even though she'd always professed to hate running. On those mornings, she'd come back flushed, hair wet, avoiding my eyes as she grabbed coffee. One night, while she was in the shower, her Apple Watch buzzed on the dresser. A message preview flashed up. Marco, same time next week. My heart lurched into my throat. I'd heard his name enough by then to know what it meant. The rest of the message was cut off, just, since the last time left us both, before the screen dimmed. I didn't touch it. I just sat on the end of the bed staring at the dark screen until she came out, towel wrapped around her chest, hair dripping. Everything okay? She asked, grabbing the watch and putting it on, not quite meeting my eyes. Yeah, I said. You? Never better, she said, too quickly. The second time I confronted her was clumsier than I wish it had been. We were in the car, stuck in traffic on Parramatta Road. Pepper was in the back seat. We were heading to my parents' place. She was scrolling on her phone, laughing at something. Are you having an affair? I blurted. The instant denial was almost impressive. She didn't even look up. No, are you sure? She turned to me then, full lawyer mode engaged. Are you serious right now? I'm asking, I said, gripping the wheel harder, because things don't add up. The hotel, the late nights, the texts from Marco at weird hours. You went through my messages, she snapped. I saw one on your watch, I said. I didn't go snooping, it popped up. She laughed. God, you're insecure. Insecure or noticing patterns? You're accusing me of cheating because my boss texts me about work at 11 p.m. The world doesn't shut down at 5, Alex, she said, voice getting sharper. Welcome to 2025. Clients exist in different time zones, deals run late, people text each other. I'm not sleeping with him. How long would you say you typically spend at the Harborview? I asked. She stiffened. There you go again with the stalking app. I'm not stalking, I said. We shared our locations like we did on holiday. Remember, you used it when I got lost in Barcelona. Oh my God, that was a cute thing couples do, not some surveillance program, she snapped. You are making something out of nothing, again. I just want honesty, I said. If something going on, I'd rather hear it from you. Nothing is going on, she said through gritted teeth. Drop it, or I swear to God, I'll go stay with my sister for a bit because I can't breathe with you like this. So I dropped it, again, because I knew if she left, I'd be the one my parents blamed. What did you do to make her leave? My mum would ask, not what did she do that made her go. But something in me also shifted that day, something hardened. If she wasn't going to give me honesty, I was going to have to find it myself. This is the part I'm not proud of. The part where I decided that if my own wife was going to treat me like the villain in her personal courtroom drama, I'd better collect evidence. I didn't go full crazy, no GPS trackers on her car, no creepy stalking, but I did call a private investigator. It felt ridiculous, saying the words out loud. I think my wife might be cheating, I told the woman on the phone, my voice sounding small even to my own ears. She didn't sound surprised. Okay, she said, like I'd told her my internet was out. Let's talk about what you've noticed. I told her about the hotel, the late nights, the weird texts. I didn't tell her about how my heart felt like it was fraying a little more every day. That part was between me and the ceiling at 2 a.m. We can run some surveillance, she said. Discreet, we stay on public property, get what we can. No promises, but in my experience, if there's something to find, we usually find it. I almost backed out. Isn't this extreme? I asked. Extreme is draining your savings on IVF with someone who's living a double life, she said, and the bluntness of it winded me. Knowing is cheaper than not knowing. We set a time frame, 2 weeks. They'd watch a few nights she claimed to be at work functions, maybe a Saturday run. I told myself that if they came back with nothing, I'd march myself to a therapist and work on my trust issues like my life depended on it. They did not come back with nothing. The call came on day 9. I was in the staff room marking creative writing pieces that all seemed to involve dragons. "Alex, it's Lena," the pie said. "We've got some photographs you'll want to see. Do you want me to email them or—" My throat went dry. "Print them," I heard myself say. "Please." I picked them up the next afternoon from a nondescript office above a chemist. Lena handed me a manila envelope and a look that said she'd seen this play out 100 times. "You okay?" she asked gently. "No," I said. "Do you have support, friends, family?" "Yes," I lied. "Take your time looking," she said. "Don't do it in your car outside. Go home, sit down, breathe, and remember, whatever's in there already existed before the photos. You're just seeing it now." I nearly made it home before opening them. Nearly. I pulled into a quiet side street, turned off the engine, and sat there, the envelope on the passenger seat like it was ticking. Pepper stared at it from the back seat, then at me, head tilted. "Don't judge me," I muttered, and slid the photos out. The first one was that lobby shot I'd later put on top of the stack. Kelly and Marco, clear as day. No mistaking the way their bodies angled towards each other, the way his hand rested on her hip. The second, them sitting at a sidewalk cafe, her hand on his knee under the table. The third, them walking down a quiet side street, his arms slung over her shoulders like they'd been doing it forever. There were more, a lot more. One of them going into the hotel together, too close for any just colleague's explanation. Another of him leaving alone 2 hours later, jacket off, shirt untucked, hair mussed. I don't remember driving home. I know I didn't crash because I'm still alive, but the actual movement of car and streets and traffic lights is gone, fuzzed out by the roar in my ears. At home, I dropped the photos on the table and sat there staring at them until the edges blurred. When Kelly came in that night, tossing her keys into the bowl, she froze halfway to the kitchen. "What's this?" she asked, voice already defensive. And that's where we started. Back at the table, her smile cracking, my hands finally not shaking because there was nothing left to tremble for. "You had someone follow me," she said, flipping through the images faster now, as if speed could blur them. "Do you have any idea how illegal this is?" "It's not," I said. "They stayed on public property. You made sure there were plenty of public places to document." "You can't use these," she snapped, "if you think this gives you some upper hand in a divorce." "I wasn't thinking divorce," I said quietly, "until you looked me in the eye and told me I was crazy, repeatedly." She laughed, but it was jagged. "You are crazy. This is crazy. You can't hurt me with these, Alex. You know that, right? No-fault divorce, remember. You don't get extra points because you collected evidence like some sad little detective." That strung, not because it wasn't at least partially true. Australia doesn't care whose fault it is, not officially, but because of the contempt in her voice. She wasn't just minimizing what she'd done. She was belittling me for refusing to be gaslit about it. "This isn't about court," I said. "This is about reality. You've been telling me for months that what I see isn't what I see, that my gut is wrong, that your stories are right. I needed something that didn't depend on how good you are at talking." She went very still. "You think I did this to you," she said slowly, "like I woke up one day and thought, how can I traumatize my husband?" "I think you did this for yourself," I said, "and I think you decided you could live with what it did to me." Her jaw clenched. "Okay," she said finally. "Fine, you want honesty. Here, yes, I've been seeing Marco for a while." She winced like the word tasted bad. "It started out as, I don't know, companionship. We were on the same cases, late nights, hotel conferences. One thing led to another." She shrugged. Like she was describing a slightly annoying flight delay. "I didn't plan it, it just happened." "It just happened," I repeated, staring at the photo of their fingers intertwined on a cafe table, like tripping on a step. "You think I'm proud of this," she snapped. "You think I like that I turned into exactly the kind of cliché I roll my eyes at." "I don't know what you like anymore," I said. "I know you liked making me feel insecure and then mocking me for it." She flinched. "That's not fair." "It's accurate," I said. We went around in circles for a while after that. She said she'd been lonely, that I'd been checked out for months, married to your marking, more invested in some Year 12's thesis on Shakespeare than in our sex life. She cried. She swore it wasn't serious, that it was just an escape. "You think he's going to leave his wife for me," she said bitterly at one point. "He's not. He's got kids, a house in Mosman, an image. I'm not a complete idiot." "I didn't think this was about him leaving anyone," I said. "I think this is about you wanting your life plus dessert." That's when she said the line that made my stomach flip. You can't hurt me, she said, chin up, eyes flashing. Even if you show those to my parents or to HR or whoever you think will punish me. I land on my feet, I always do. You, on the other hand, she gestured vaguely at the apartment. Do you really want to blow up your own life to make a point? There it was, the quiet threat under the bravado. She wasn't just saying I couldn't hurt her emotionally, she was pointing out the power imbalance. She earned more. The mortgage was technically in her name because my teaching salary hadn't impressed the bank. She knew that if this turned into a scorched earth war, I'd end up in a much smaller place with much less. Something inside me snapped then, but not in the way she expected. I sat back, inhaled slowly, exhaled. You genuinely think this is about revenge, I said. What else could it be? She asked. It's about not living with someone who thinks they're untouchable, I said. Who thinks I'm so afraid of losing material things that I'll swallow whatever they do as long as they smile pretty and say, you can't hurt me. She opened her mouth, closed it again. What are you going to do? She asked, wary now. I've already spoken to a lawyer, I said, about separation, property, what I'm entitled to. Her eyes flashed. On what grounds? On the grounds that I don't want to be married to someone who looks at proof of their affair and says, you can't hurt me, I said. No-fault divorce means I don't need grounds. You taught me that, remember? For a second, I thought she was going to throw the photos at me. Instead, she let out a long, shaky breath and slumped back in her chair. Okay, she said. Okay, say we separate. What then? You show those around at dinner parties. You mail them to the firm. You go nuclear. I'm not mailing them anywhere, I said. That's not who I am, but I am going to give one set to my lawyer, and one set is for you. Why? She asked, genuinely confused. So that in 5 years, when you're telling yourself this was just a rough patch or a complicated time, you can't completely edit me out of the story, I said. You can look at them and remember there was a person on the other side of your escape. She stared at me, eyes glistening. You're cruel, she whispered. Maybe, I said, or maybe I'm finally not playing nice in a game you rigged. We didn't decide everything that night. You don't untangle 9 years of shared life over a single bottle of Pinot and a stack of glossy A4, but a direction had been set, and it wasn't backwards. The next few weeks were a mess. We moved into separate bedrooms. She told her firm she needed some personal time and worked from home more, which meant we had more tense, silent lunches and more carefully neutral conversations about who was taking Pepper to the vet. I found a therapist, sat in a room that smelled like peppermint tea and old tissues, and tried to explain the feeling of living with someone who could look at evidence of her own betrayal and still seem more offended by the fact that I violated her privacy than by what she'd done. My therapist, a soft-spoken guy with 2 short socks, said, she sounds very practiced at controlling the narrative. That's her job, I said. He nodded. Does that mean it has to be your reality? Kelly, for her part, oscillated between contrition and anger. One morning, she knocked on the guest room door where I'd relocated. Can we talk? She asked, hovering in the doorway like a teenager caught sneaking in late. I put down my book. Sure. She came in, perched on the edge of the desk chair. I've been thinking, she said, about everything. Me too, I said. I'm willing to go to counseling, she said. Couples therapy, individual, whatever. I'll cut him off completely. Transfer to a different team. I already told him it's over, by the way. You did? She nodded. He was not thrilled. She let out a humorless laugh. Men like him aren't used to being told no. Why? I asked. She blinked. What? Why did you tell him it's over? She rolled her eyes. Because you found out. That's not an answer, I said. That's a cause. Why do you want to end it? Because you're scared of losing the house, your reputation, or because you realized it was wrong? She stared at me, jaw working. Does it matter? It matters to me, I said. She looked away. I don't know, she said finally. Both, all. I miss you, I miss us, before I broke it. That tugged at something in me I thought I managed to tuck away. This was the woman I'd fallen in love with, the one who got watery-eyed at corny movie speeches, not the ice-cold version who'd said, you can't hurt me over grainy photos. I considered it therapy, trying again. The Reddit posts and articles I'd read about couples rebuilding after affairs. What happens the next time you're lonely? I asked. Or bored, or feeling underappreciated? Do I have to hire a pie every 5 years to check you haven't found another escape? That's not fair, she said quickly. You keep saying that, I said, but you don't tell me what is. She didn't have an answer. In the end, the decision crystallized in the least dramatic place possible, the Coles parking lot. I was standing there with a trolley loading bags into the boot, when my phone buzzed with an email from my lawyer. Subject: property and agreement draft. She'd attached a proposed agreement. It wasn't generous, necessarily, but it also wasn't the financial oblivion Kelly had implied I'd face if I blew things up. I'd keep a fair share of the equity. In the apartment, we'd split accounts. Pepper mercifully was mine. Kelly had typed in all caps in her response. The dog stays with Alex. She'll be HAPPIR. I actually laughed out loud at that, earning a weird look from a woman with a screaming toddler. It hit me then, the thing Kelly had weaponized to keep me compliant. My fear of losing everything was exaggerated. I wasn't going to end up in a cardboard box. I'd downsize, tighten my belt, maybe take on some tutoring, but I'd be okay. Maybe even better than okay long term, if okay meant not checking my wife's location whenever she said she had a late meeting. I stood there in the parking lot, holding a bag of frozen peas, and felt something uncoil in my chest. That night I told Kelly I wanted a divorce. Not time apart, not a break, not space. Divorce. She nodded slowly, eyes shiny. Okay, she said, if that's what you want. It's not what I wanted, I corrected, but it's what I need. She swallowed. Do you hate me? I thought about lying, about saying no to be gracious, but I'd done enough self-erasing. Sometimes, I said, sometimes I hate what you did. Sometimes I hate the way you talked to me like I was naive for trusting you. Sometimes I miss you so much it feels like I can't breathe. It's all mixed. She nodded, a tear slipping down. Me too, she said. We signed the papers a month later. No big courtroom showdown, no dramatic scenes. Just two people at a table in a plain office, a lawyer sliding documents across, our hands cramping slightly as we wrote our names over and over. The photos stayed in my lawyer's file. I never sent them to her firm. I never mailed them to her parents or printed them out to stick on lampposts. I kept one copy in a folder at the back of my wardrobe for a while, then eventually, one rainy afternoon, I took them out, looked at them one last time and shredded them. The sound of the blades chewing through glossy paper was louder than it had any right to be. Why shred them after everything? Because I realized I didn't want my life defined by catching her out. I'd already used them for what I needed, to break free from the story she kept trying to sell me, where I was an irrational husband overreacting to innocent coincidences. I didn't need a shrine to the hurt. Kelly moved out shortly after the papers were filed, into a rental closer to the city. We still had to talk occasionally, about Pepper's vet records, about forwarding mail, about tax stuff. Once. Months later, we bumped into each other in the grocery store. She was in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, holding a basket with pasta and red wine. For a second, we both froze. Hey, she said. Hey, I replied. How's Pepper? She asked. Good, I said, less anxious, weirdly. She smiled sadly. Dogs are smarter than we think, she said. We stood there for a moment, two people who used to share a bed now, separated by a pyramid of discounted tomatoes. I'm doing better, she said, unprompted. Seeing someone not like that, she winced. Therapist someone. Good, I said, and I meant it. How about you? Also seeing someone, I said, different kind of someone. Reddit, she joked weakly. I actually laughed, yeah, them too. We parted ways. I went home, fed Pepper, sat on my second-hand couch in my smaller but somehow lighter apartment, and opened Reddit to write this. If you've made it this far, hear what I'm trying to get off my chest. When someone looks you in the eye and says, you can't hurt me, what they often mean is, I believe I have all the power here. I believe you are too scared, too dependent, too self-doubting to do anything that might inconvenience me. Collecting those photos wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about hurting her. It was about proving to myself that my reality was real, that my instincts weren't just some overactive imagination, that the unease I'd been swallowing had a concrete source. I don't think hiring a pie is the right move for everyone. I'm not saying spy on your partner at the first sign of weirdness. What I am saying is, if someone repeatedly tells you that what you're seeing and feeling isn't happening, if every question is turned back on you as paranoia or insecurity, if they respond to your pain with you can't hurt me, you're allowed to seek clarity. You're allowed to prioritize your sanity over their comfort. And if you do end up with your own stack of metaphorical or literal photos, you don't have to use them as weapons. You can use them as a compass, as a way of saying, this is real, and because it's real, I'm allowed to walk away. Kelly was right about one thing. I couldn't hurt her in the way she feared. The firm didn't collapse. She didn't end up ostracized from society. She's probably still winning arguments in boardrooms somewhere. But she was wrong about the rest. I could hurt her in a different way, not by humiliating her, but by refusing to keep playing the role she'd written for me, by exiting the story entirely, by no longer being the safe, predictable husband she could come home to after nights in hotel lobbies and expect to swallow her edited version of events. These days my life is quieter. My living room doesn't echo with the sound of her heels on the floor. My phone doesn't light up with running late, big meeting texts. I still get a twinge when I drive past the Harborview, but it's fading. Pepper and I take long walks in the evenings. I'm slowly remembering what it feels like to make decisions that don't factor in someone else's ability to spin them. And sometimes when my brain starts trying to rewrite history, whispering, maybe you overreacted, maybe it wasn't that bad, I don't need the photos anymore, I remember her smile across that dining table, the way she said, "You can't hurt me," like a dare. And I remember the way that smile changed when she saw the truth she couldn't talk her way out of anymore.